Hi, my name is Molly, and welcome to the drawing portion of our fine arts curriculum. Today we are going to be learning to draw the human face in proper proportions. Let's go! For this project, you will need a good pencil, a plain piece of paper, and a good eraser. Let's get started! Hi, I'm Molly.
I'm Olivia.
And we are going to show you proportions of a face. So first, I have a charcoal pencil. Livy, she has a 3H pencil, so hers is going to be a lot lighter than mine, and I'm going to go over the different darkness and lightness of different drawing pencils in another video. But H just means hardness, so it puts less graphite on your paper. So hers is a 3H, so it puts a lot less. But using a light pencil is really good for beginning drawers because they can draw light lines. They can draw light until they get it right. So she's using a 3H pencil with an eraser that's separate. I'm using a charcoal pencil because I want you to be able to see it. And these are soft. It says soft right here. So it's going to leave a lot of marks that you can see, and it'll have good contrast against this white paper. First, we're going to draw an upside down egg shape on your paper. You got your egg shape?
Yep.
Okay. So I have my egg shape and she has hers, and we're going to just split it down the middle with a light line. So right down the middle long ways, and then right in half. If you were to cut your egg right in half, draw a line across the middle. Okay, great job. Now a lot of you might think, okay, this is where the end of my nose goes, but this is actually the line your eyes go on. Okay, so we're going to keep that in mind for later. And then we're going to split this bottom half from this middle line down. We're going to split it into thirds, which will just be shown by 2 tick marks. So like if these lines continued on, these would be about thirds. 1 part, 2 part, 3 parts. Okay, now this is actually the bottom of your nose. So I like to do this maybe with a little bit of a nostril there, however you want to do the bottom of your nose. We all have different noses. Okay. Okay, now this right here, this little line, this little tick on the chin is actually the bottom of your lower lip. And so if you want to just lightly draw like a little triangle there, and I'll show you why later. And then I like to draw a line right just above that little triangle. It's just a little bit longer than the end of your nose. Okay. And now on top of that, we're just lightly going to draw a little shadow. So you can go back and forth on that shadow, cross hatch it, but don't go too dark. Okay, that then makes your lips look like cast shadows versus hard lines, because when you're young, you don't have those hard lines. You have a lot more of cast shadows. So, and if you want to make your lip fatter down here on the bottom, you would just move that triangle down if you want. Okay. Now at the end of this little mouth, I'm going to put these little darkened corners. So if you want to do that. Okay. How's it going, Livy?
Good.
Okay. Now remember, this is just proportions, so you can go back later and fix anything that you want. Now that we have the bottom of the nose, if we were to follow that line out, there's a little dot here and a little dot here. That is the bottom of your ear. So just do a little tick there to remind you. So like I said, if you were to follow the end of your nose out, there's the bottom of your ear. Okay, now across this line, you can fit 5 eye widths across this line. So I like to go about a 1/2 inch down on my pencil. I'm gonna go right below this little, Livy's gonna draw a little mark, but you can start eyeballing, no pun on words there, across your line, 5 widths. Oops, and you will see that you can fit about 5 eye widths apart, and guess where your eyes are? They go in the middle too, where you drew those 2 tick marks. So now we're gonna make an almond shaped within those tick marks. And don't worry if they're really dark, we can erase them here after we get these almond shapes drawn. And feel free to pause this video. If you think I'm going too quickly, feel free to pause it and we can go back in and work with it. So while Livy's getting her proportions right, I'm gonna just erase this line. To the sides of the nose, the middle of the chin and underneath the nose. Okay. So like I said, a lot of people think this would be the nose line, but look at all this forehead. And on this forehead, you're gonna have lots of hair. You're gonna have your hairline, okay? Great job. Okay, so now we're gonna do the irises, which come pretty much in the middle of your eye. And of course, in there, we have the pupil. I like to leave a little bit of a white spot in the pupil. Okay, and then some people have darker irises on the bottom, and then maybe the light catches it on the top, wherever the light catches it. Eyes are very beautiful. You look really deeply into our eyes. Some people have multicolored eyes. Some people have different shadows reflecting. So I'm going to draw some eyelids, just a little thin line above that eye. And don't worry if one eye looks different from the other, because did you know our eyes are actually not identical. They look identical, but if you were to split the face in half and really study one eye as opposed to the other, they would be a little bit different from each other. So don't worry if they look a little different. So now we're going to follow this nose line, and on the top of that nose line, that is where your eyebrow sits. So draw a curve. And some people have very arched eyebrows, some people have hairy, full eyebrows, some people have hardly any eyebrows. Okay, so draw these kind of light, because I have a much darker tool than Livy does. Okay, she drew some eyelashes, I'll do some eyelashes too. I like her eyelashes, so I'm drawing them on that eyelid, because that's where they are. Draw on the lower lid if you want to, you don't have to. Great job, Olivia. You doing okay? Mm-hmm. Okay. So now, you guessed it, we're going to draw the ear, probably right below the top of the ear line, right below those eyebrows. Okay, so you can put a little tick there, and then if you want them close to your head, if you want them to stick out a little more, we all have different types of ears, don't we? We are all made very unique. So my face is not going to look like Olivia's, even though the proportions are very similar. Okay, so now we have the ears. Let's erase, make sure we've erased all these lines and through the face. Do you want this eraser here? Mm-hmm. Okay, so work on erasing those lines. And you can add some dark spots in that line of that lip if you want. Maybe darken up the nostrils if you want to. Okay. Okay, and then if you're drawing a man, you're gonna find that the neck sits, I'm gonna just adjust this face line here, but you're gonna see that a man's neck would be much wider typically than a female neck. I'm gonna draw a female today, but that would give you an idea. If I started drawing over here, that would be more of a masculine neck. If I'm gonna draw a female, the female's neck isn't as long as you think. It's just maybe a couple inches for an 1.5 inch line, curved line. And then instead of going straight across for the shoulders, there is a trapezius muscle that acts as kind of like a slide down to the shoulders. And then the shoulder muscle goes straight across. Okay. So that is more, remember that trapezius muscle, because I think a lot of times we forget it and we just want to draw the neck or the shoulder straight across. Good job, Olivia. Okay, and now if you want to, you can draw, you know, some people have that little shadow from those creases underneath the nose. Some people have a little dimple. Your temples are actually right here. So some people's temples kind of come in right by the eyebrow, and then their cheekbone, they might come in a little bit on the sides to form that cheekbone. Some people don't. Some people just have a more of a curved face without all those dips and valleys. So whichever kind of face you want to draw. And now we get to draw the hairline. That completes our proportion of the face lesson. I hope you learned a lot today. I hope you enjoyed it. And just remember, if you feel like, you know, I didn't quite get my face looking like I wanted to, you can take time and keep working on it. Also, just keep on practicing. Don't quit, don't give up. But here's the face that I came up with. Olivia's face is totally different because we are all unique, but we all have similar proportions to our face. Isn't that amazing? Great job, Olivia.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us.
Hey, hey.